Now moving on to a very important doctrine called the Samadhan doctrine. Now what do you mean by Samadhan doctrine? Ministry of Home Affairs spelled out the Samadhan doctrine in 2017. So Samadhan, which is again an acronym, stands for what? Let us take up each letter and see what it is. S for smart leadership, which means what? States to take ownership of anti-Naxal operations and frame an integrated strategy to deal with guerrilla. That is, states are going to take it up as what? Yes, this is my trouble. I am going to deal with this. And for that, again, it is not a very narrow-minded, okay, give weapons to the hand of the security forces and go kill everybody. No. The idea here is a multi-pronged strategy, integrating all the schemes, both direct and indirect, which will have an impact on Naxalism. Clear? That is what S stands for, smart leadership. Who should take the leadership position here? The state should take it up because it is their domain, it is their territory. Ultimately, law and order is a state subject, so states will be in a better position to deal with it. So S stands for smart leadership, where states will take the initiative. Now we move on to A, which is basically what? Which is basically aggressive strategy. What is this aggressive strategy? One thing is you will give more helicopter support for the operations. And then 445 police stations will be set up in the Naxal belt. So here it is basically, the idea is what? To provide more security. Like I told you, increase the, under Operation Green Hunt, recollect that. Under erstwhile Operation Green Hunt also we followed the strategy of what? Of increasing the deployment of the security forces in the Naxal affected areas. This also is on more or less on the similar lines, but with helicopter support. S is over, A is over, moving on to M, motivation and training. Indian Army or specialized forces such as Greyhounds to train forces to take on Naxals. So either Indian Army will train or Greyhounds will be training, which are specialized forces exclusively built to deal with Naxalism threat. Now, how important is this motivation and training? Let me tell you this a small story or anecdote of this Japanese restaurant. So there is this famous Japanese restaurant, and as you know, sushi is a Japanese delicacy. So apparently this restaurant in Japan decided, okay, why not, rather than waiting for the fish to be caught from the sea, why can't we actually, build a large tank and have the fishes inside that tank so that we will be able to catch it fresh and we can serve our customers the best quality fish in the world. Okay, they did it. They constructed a huge tank. They brought in all the babies. They put them inside the tank. The babies were fed well, taken care well, because obviously we are talking about the Japanese here. And ultimately, when the babies grew up into a large size, they were taken out, they were cut, they were chopped, they were cooked, they were served. But now the customers started to complain that the fish or the sushi is not as tasty as it was before. Almost all the chefs, the best of best chefs, tried everything possible, but simply the taste was not sufficient. And ultimately, they found the solution for it. The solution was they just brought in a small shark and threw it into the tank in which the fish was basically growing. Once the shark entered the tank, what happened was that the shark started chasing these fish. Obviously, because shark is the predator, the fish being the prey. Shark started chasing it. And now these fishes, which were till now having a very peaceful and calm life, eat on time, sleep on time, multiply. That's it. Other than that, no better work. But now what happened? They had to run for their life, or rather swim for their life. And as they started swimming, their muscles started releasing toxins. Their muscles started releasing various chemicals. Their muscles obviously started working out. Now they caught the same fish which was going on moving around the tank. They caught the same fish. They cut it. They chopped it. They made the sushi, served it to the customer. The taste was much more better than before. Moral of the story is what? Training is something which has to be done every day. It cannot be taken for granted. Motivation is also something which has to be given every day. It also cannot be taken for granted. Clear? So, how to give them training, either through specialized forces like Greyhound or by the Indian Army. Clear? So, Samadhan doctrines, S is over, smart leadership, A is about aggressive strategy, M is about motivation and training. So, 3 over. Moving on to the next letter, which is A again, which stands for actionable intelligence. Joint task forces should be set up for operations along interstate boundaries. Like I told you, it is always a nightmare when you have a tri-junction where you have one state here, another state B here, another state C here. Because this is basically no man's land. And this no man's land is actually what? Happy news for the Naxals. For the Naxals, this is happy news. Why? Because obviously we will have 3 different state governments here. If all the 3 state governments are having the same political party, then it is a different scenario. But more often than not, that will not be the case. As a result of which, development will suffer here. Security forces deployment also will suffer, because who will send the security force till where? Till what is their jurisdiction? So when states cannot take the initiative there, or states rather will not take the initiative, then who will have to come finally? The central armed police forces will have to be deployed finally, which again has its own sets of challenges. So that is why joint task force should be set up for what purpose? For counterintelligence as well as to implement strategies along the interstate boundaries. Better interstate coordination and intelligence sharing will actually help in dealing with left-wing extremism, especially in regions of tri-junction. Clear? Now, S, I told you, associated with smart leadership. M, A is for what? Aggressive policing. M is for what? Motivation. Again, A is for actionable intelligence. So, Sama is over. Now we stand for D for dashboard, which is based on KPI, that is key performance indicators and key result areas. That is, now you're going to keep a tab on the social outcome of all these initiatives. Because see, the problem with social sector schemes, economic sector, it is simple. You construct a road here and you can easily see within 5 years what is the change that is happening. Shops will open up, schools will come up, hospitals will come up. So you can basically say, okay, the 1,000 crore was invested for constructing this particular road or highway, and within 5 years, more than 5,000 crore business is being made or revenue has been generated for the government through direct tax as well as indirect tax. Done. That makes sense. But how do you get to know about social initiatives are improving or not? Because social factors, it will take years and years together. Talk about education, talk about health, talk about the per capita income. All this, it will reflect in the scenario, or it will reflect as change years later. But we cannot wait for years either. That is why we are going for what? An aggressive strategy here, whereby which all minute changes are going to be recorded. And where it is going to be recorded? It is going to be recorded in a dashboard. So that what are the key performance indicators? What is working and what is not working? What are the key result areas? What are the results obtained? All this will be kept what? A track of. So that anybody can see which initiative is working or not. Clear, people? So, Samadhan doctrines, SAMAD is over. S for smart leadership, A for aggressive policing, M for motivation and training, A for actionable intelligence, D for dashboard. Now let us see what does H stand for. H is harnessing technology, unmanned aerial vehicles and drones for Maoist hotbed areas, GPS tracking, HHTI, handheld thermal image devices, radar, satellite imagery, trackers and weapons. So very recently, you would have seen the video footage where they have shown drones, taking live video of hold up Lashkar-e-Taiba terrorists. So these are the techniques what we can do these days. In addition to this, when in forest areas, one of the biggest challenges is finding out these tribal people where they are hiding. But if you are actually having handheld thermal imaging devices, what is the advantage there? One scan of the immediate vicinity will tell you whether any human being is there. Why? infrared rays are emitted by human beings. Because we are all having body heat, we will constantly emit infrared waves. And handheld thermal imaging device will actually help in what? In sensing these infrared image. And with that, you will get to know whether the Maoists are present in that area or not. In addition to that, you can use what? UAVs as well as drones, which will actually help in covering a large area and giving us the exact pinpoint location of where the terrorists or Maoists are holed up. And thus, we will get to know how many are there, what are the weapons that they have. All this information will be available. So, once again, loss of life of the security forces, or in terms of the surrender of Naxalites or Maoists, all this can be increased. Clear? A. Action plan for each theater. This is important. Action plan for each theater. You cannot have a one-size-fit-all solution for Naxal issue in every territory. For each territory, you will have to what? You will have to improvise the plan as per the territory. That is very, very important. Getting the picture, people? This is what has to be done there. So if you see, S for smart leadership, A for aggressive policing, M for motivation, A for actionable intelligence, D for dashboard, H for harnessing technology, A for action plan for each theater, and then the last letter, which is N. And N is for what? No access to financing. Even though N is put at the last, please understand this is one of the most important strategies that has to be done. Why? Because like I told you, the age or the time where we actually used to send weapons into the hands of our soldiers, they will go, they will get killed and come in a body bag, and the weapon which we gave them, that will get taken away either by the terrorists or by the Maoists. Those days are gone. This is not a long-term strategy. The long-term strategy is what? Any extremist movement you talk about, you will have to do what? You will have to spend money on it. Even for that matter, when a strike has to be conducted, you all know it by now. It is mostly on a per head basis payment is given. Spontaneous strike or spontaneous public outburst is different. I am talking about the organized ones. The organized strikes, bandh, hartal, whatever is being conducted. For all that, you need people. For those people, you have to pay something. You have to give them something. But what if money itself is not there to pay? There are no more biryanis to be distributed, no more alcohol to be distributed because there is no money. Automatically, what will happen? No strike or no bandh or no hartal. Automatically, what is the same logic if you apply in Naxalism or in terrorism? The same thing will happen. When you don't have money to spend to pay your armed cadre, when you don't have money to get the weapons or get weapons locally or even across the border, then automatically the backbone of the extremist movement will get broken. Clear? So, Prevention of Money Laundering Act to be reviewed to ensure effective choking of fund flow to left-wing extremism region. Very recently, again, Enforcement Directorate's power has been increased sky high thanks to a Supreme Court judgment, whereby which Enforcement Directorate along with NIA are two very important bodies today that have Himalayan powers when it comes to arrest, seizure, search. Getting the idea? And even attach. So the point here is that such initiatives where agencies are given enough teeth to deal with any extremism will go long in helping with what? In helping with dealing with any extremist movement. Clear, people? So once again, Samadhan Doctrine, S for smart leadership, A for aggressive policing, M for motivation and training, A for actionable intelligence, D for dashboard, H for harnessing the technology, A for action plan for each theater, N for no finance. Clear, people? This also you can put it up in your way forward or methods or measures to deal with left-wing extremism. Clear with Samadhan Doctrine? Moving on. So now that we are done with the Samadhan doctrine, let us now see the various security agencies that are responsible for dealing with left-wing extremism. We are not going to see it in detail as such. It is just to give you a brief idea, because first of all, from an exam point of view, a direct question exclusively dealing with the security agencies have not come. Why? Because left-wing extremism, security agencies alone cannot take the credit, nor government alone can take the credit. It is actually a combination of everything together, put together. Getting the idea? So it is not just the developmental initiatives, that security is also involved. But then, having said that, we must at least have a very brief understanding just to know the operational aspects of this and the challenges of it. That's it. A very brief idea is enough. So, starting with, a dedicated left-wing extremism division is under the Ministry of Home Affairs, where the left-wing extremism division will implement security-related schemes aimed at capacity building in left-wing extremism affected states. Pretty much direct, nothing is there, just that you have a division exclusively to deal with what? Capacity building of the security forces who are deployed in the left-wing extremism affected states. And then obviously the IPS stalwart himself, D. Vijay Kumar IPS. Security and development should go like the left and right leg of the human body. Now let me tell you, it is very, very rare that somebody gets appointed back into the service in a separate post after the retirement. It is very rare. That is, after serving as the DG CRPF, even after writing a letter to the UPSC by the Government of India, where the Government of India requested UPSC to extend his tenure, UPSC did not listen to it. So finally, Government of India did what? Created a separate post for him. Senior Security Advisor to Home Ministry. And that, why is it so? Because of his strategies. Because especially when Shri D. Vijay Kumar IPS was in CRPF, the Naxal attacks dropped down, Naxal violence decreased, number of security forces that got killed decreased. On top of it, what happened is the number of surrenders increased. So that strategy is being followed here even now. And this is his strategy. Security and development should go like the left and right leg. Because, like he always says, according to him, in any society, there is a middle group. And then there is a liberal group. And then there is a extreme group. So it is not a problem if the people who are in the middle shifts towards the liberal side. That is not a problem at all. The real problem will start if the people who are in the middle moves towards the extreme end. That is what he says. And to prevent middle people who are there in the middle going to the extreme end, you need what for it? You need governance for it. If you bring in governance, what is the advantage? People tend to move closer towards the liberal side. But once you get this done, there will be still some amount of extremists remaining who are not ready to accept the governance, who are not ready to accept the idea of India, who are not ready to accept the constitution of India, who are not ready to accept democracy. For them, the only solution is what? Bullet. That is how it is. That is the reality. We have to accept it. It is not that we will never use guns or weapons. Everything can be talked out and settled. Absolutely not. Everything cannot be talked out and settled, especially if your opponent is ready, has a gun pointed at you. Getting the idea? So even for your interview board also, there will be a question, there will be such questions where they want to see whether you are having an extremely liberal thought. No, extreme liberal thought is not the thing. Ultimately, when you are an IPS officer or when you are an officer in charge there, if at all your subordinates or other general public is going to be affected, then you should not hesitate in what? Using firearms. Getting the idea? Again, firearms purpose should be what again? When I say bullet, is it to kill? No, it is to stop. It is to stop them and arrest them. Take them through the due process of law. Because when we talk about killing, understand one thing. Encounter, whatever you see in movies there, don't fall for that. Encounter as a word itself does not exist. It is actually extrajudicial killing. No authority, with no authority of the judiciary, you are exercising what? You are exercising powers to kill somebody. So you are doing it only on grounds of what? Only on grounds of self-protection. Clear? So self-protection is the reason why you are doing it. But otherwise, this is the strategy. Clear? Moving further. So the role and functions of the division also includes what? Capacity building of the states to combat left-wing extremism through schemes of the Ministry of Home Affairs, like what we have seen, security-related expenditure scheme, special infrastructure scheme, special central assistance, etc. Clear? So idea here is what? Idea here is that these type of schemes will help in capacity building, and for that to look into it exclusively, you have what? The left-wing extremism division under Ministry of Home Affairs. In that again, deployment of central armed police forces in left-wing extremism affected states, providing funds to the CAPF for strengthening of infrastructure or helicopter or civic action. That is also involved there. So civic action is important here. Strengthening of infrastructure we know. Helicopters we already saw. Why helicopters has to be deployed there? That also we know. Civic action, again, what is it? Civic action, like I told you, it is to bring the human side out. Showcase the human side of security forces. Getting the idea? That is the purpose there. So now we are deploying funds. We are deploying the helicopters. All these are being done. But then we have to see how the situation is now. Has it improved? Has it deteriorated? What is the new, whether any new threat is there? And that is where reviewing becomes important. Reviewing the security situation in left-wing extremism affected states and issuing advisories to the state government concerned. Agreed. As per Samadhan doctrine, state governments are supposed to be taking the leadership. Correct. But central government is giving what here? Only advisories that you should be careful now. This is what is happening. So that there is coordination not just between state to state but also center and state. In addition to it, assistance is provided to state government for initiatives to combat left-wing extremism in the form of funds for items of emergent nature. Items of emergent nature means a new threat is coming in. So you need to deploy more security forces. So funds has to be released for it. Or a new problem is developing there. A new socio-economic problem is developing there in terms of, let us say, increased maternal mortality rate or increased infant mortality rate. To deal with that, again, you need more funds. So that way, a complete coordination between the center and the state government. Getting the picture here? That is the whole purpose of it. Moving on. Finally, the coordination part. Coordinating implementation of left-wing extremism related schemes of other central ministries for left-wing extremism affected districts. Coordination is important because until and unless we don't integrate all the schemes and then review the situation, what will happen? Everything will be half and half. And there will be too much of duplication, too much of overlapping. What is duplication? That is two similarly natured schemes claiming credit. That my scheme led to this. No. My scheme led to this. That is the problem there. So you actually need what? You actually need complete coordination between all the ministries, all the departments, both at the center and at the state level. Only then effectively you can see what is working and what is not working. Clear? Moving on now. So let us see some security agencies, certain special forces. Number one would be CRPF Cobra. CRPF with its elite special forces Cobra has been designated lead counter-insurgency operations in Maoist areas. Operation Green Hunt, paramilitary forces and the state's forces against the Naxalites. Paramilitary forces means, all the paramilitary forces, the central and police force, everything will come under here, plus the state force. This was for Operation Green Hunt. Why? So many forces? It was basically to reduce the strength of Naxal in number, because otherwise Naxalites used to be so much in number compared to the state force or the central force. So here we are merging both so that who is in majority there? It is the central and the state security agencies. Clear? Moving on, we come now to Greyhounds and Salva Judam. When we talk about greyhounds, they are the forces from Andhra Pradesh and Telangana, and they have registered remarkable success when it comes to dealing with the Naxalism threat. And that is the reason why greyhounds are being called to train other security agencies of other state services. Clear? We have seen this as part of the Samadhan doctrine. Coming to Salva Judam, it is a tribal armed people who will work in coordination with the security agencies to deal with the Naxal threat. Now, why was Salva Judam formed? Two aspects are there, or two ways are there to see this now. The first aspect being, most of these central armed police force, border security force, Indo-Tibetan border police, Shastra Seema Bal, whatever you talk about, these are not people who are recruited from the tribals. They are again from other states, they are from metropolitan cities, tier 1 town or rural areas which are far different in terms of territory or culture from the compared to the tribal people. So they don't know how to deal with the Naxal threat, especially in states like Chhattisgarh and Jharkhand. So then this idea was devised that let us recruit people from the region itself, because that way what is the advantage? You know the terrain. You can force the Naxals to surrender because it is that same tribal people. And there is another interesting strategy to it, which is tribal people will think twice before firing at their own. So psychologically, emotionally, in multiple ways, if you see, this was a very good idea. But then Salva Judam gained notoriety for human right violations. So these days, we don't hear much about it. Clear? So that is the idea there. Indian Air Force and NTRO. IAF provides aerial support through Mi-17 helicopters for deployment and evacuation. Again, we know, as per Samadhan doctrine also we have seen, helicopters will be deployed more here with the support of IAF. And IAF and NTRO, when we say National Technical Research Organization, deploy UAVs for surveillance and intelligence gathering. As part of Samadhan doctrine, we saw under harnessing technology, more amount of or more numbers of UAVs and drones will be used. Clear? So these are the organizations which actually help with what? Dealing with left-wing extremism. Clear? Moving on.